So here are all my PS2 games. These, and this pile, and this pile, and this pile. And now let's organize them in categories. And here we are. So I've divided the games in 7 categories. Movie games, category number 1, kids games, platformer games, combat and sports games, first and third person shooter, role-playing games, and the last category are just some games that I wasn't quite sure in which category I should fit them, so I just put them there. So, without any further delay, are you ready? Let's get started. So, I've just counted the games and all of them are 70. And we're gonna go category by category. We're gonna start with the first category, which is movie games. Here we have Matrix, Path of Neo, very good game. It involves the whole trilogy. So my rating for this game is about, I'd say, 7 out of 10. Let's move on. Next game is Spider-Man 2, one of the best Spider-Man games I've ever played. I would rate it, I'd say, 8.5 out of 10. Moving on with Iron Man. Well, this game, I have to say, was kinda lame. I'll probably give it like 6 out of 10. And then we have Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four is probably one of the best Marvel games that I've ever played. You can also play multiplayer, which is, I don't know, kinda extra good. So this is about 8.5 out of 10, I'd say again. Moving on to Batman Begins. Very good game, but it's been a while since I last played it, so I'm not quite sure about the whole story in the game. But it's similar with the movie, so I'd say again 8 out of 10. Moving on with Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean. Well, this game is also not very bad, not very good, kinda average. 6.5 out of 10 would be good. Moving on with Peter Jackson's King Kong. This game is absolutely amazing. I mean, until you learn how to play it. Because if you don't know, it's kind of scary and hard at times. But once you do learn how to play it, then it's very, very good. At least that's my opinion. And I would rate it 9 or maybe 9.5 out of 10. Yes, that's a very good rating. And yes, this is Tomb Raider and the Angel of Darkness. I have to say this is kind of lame too. 6 out of 10. Moving on with Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. If you've seen the movie, you know the game. The game is very accurate and very good as well. 8 out of 10. Yes, 8 out of 10, it's good. And now we go to Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. I will rate it 8.5 out of 10. And the reason is because there is another Lord of the Rings game, not this one, which is better. This one is more like, how can I explain it? I would rate this like 7 out of 10. And this is the game, the Lord of the Rings game that I'm talking about, The Two Towers. I'm gonna rate this 9.5 out of 10. Very accurate to the story, the controls are amazing, and the whole game in general is just good, very good. Especially if you like the Lord of the Rings movies and books and all the Tolkien stuff like me. And the last movie game that I have is this game again. I like it so much that I just wanted to have 2 of them, just in case one of 2 was, you know, broken or red screen of death, something, stuff. Oopsie daisies. And now we're moving on to the second category. Now we have category number 2, which is kids games, or basically just games that are meant for kids. It's actually the same thing. Moving on. First one is Worms 3D. Not very good. Just good. Not very good. Just good. You know, alright. 6.5 out of 10. That's my opinion. Probably one of the most underrated PlayStation 2 games of all time. Spy vs Spy. Very quick and small game. Easy to play. Very fun. Especially if you have a young brother and you can always beat him. And one of the games that definitely deserve a sequel, a remake, or you know, some more credit. 9 out of 10. Moving on with Scooby-Doo, Night of the Hundred Frights. I've played about 3 or 4 Scooby-Doo games, and I have to say that this one was kinda lame. Yes, I'd say like 7 out of 10 maybe, so I'm gonna move quickly. And we're going to Cars. You know Cars, Lightning McQueen and, you know, the Mater. Very good game, kinda easy to play again. Not all of the stages, but some races, hard to beat. I'd say a good 8.5 out of 10, because the controls for a 2005 game or 4 are very good. Moving on with Donald Duck PK. So I'd say like, 7 out of 10. Moving on with Ice Age 2 Meltdown. This movie was amazing. The game, on the other hand, is good if you are like 5 or 6 years old. If you are over 18, then maybe it's kind of boring. I will give it a 7.5 because the movie was good. Madagascar 2 Escape Africa was a very good game. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. And then we have Madagascar 1. And I'm gonna give the 8 out of 10 here, because I think this one was just a touch more challenging and harder than the second game. And moving on with Worms 4 Mayhem. This is probably the best Worms game I've ever played. I think we have 25 story levels, and you can also play different styles on multiplayer and all those stuff. I'm gonna give it a 9.2 out of 10, because 10 is perfect, and it's not perfect, but it's very good. 9.2. And then we have Scooby-Doo Unmasked. This is definitely the greatest Scooby-Doo game I've ever played in any console. That's all I'm gonna say. 9 out of 10. Moving on. This is... I don't have the thingy outside. Oh, this is Looney Tunes Back in Action. Have you seen the movie? An old movie with Brendan Fraser. Very good movie. And the game is equally good. I would say a nice 8 out of 10. And closing with this category with Taz Wanted. Basically just Taz moving through different levels, destroying things, eating everything he finds in his way. But although it is just 3+, it is a very hard and challenging game, and it's quite fun too. I'd say, once again, 8 out of 10. And that's the end of this category. Third category is sports and basically brawl and combat games. Starting with Tekken 5, in my opinion, and again I'll say in my personal opinion, the best Tekken game to ever exist. Now I know you're gonna say, oh, Tekken 7 has more characters and it's all so good. Yes, I don't care. This is, for me, it's the best one because good graphics, nice simulation, and no overpowered characters and other games like 7. 9.5 out of 10, almost close to perfection. Moving on with Tekken 4, good game, not as good as Tekken 5, 8 out of 10, simple enough. Moving on with Tekken Tag Tournament. Well, what can I say? You know, once you play it once or twice, it gets kinda boring. I'll say 7 out of 10, and that's it, you can't change my mind. SmackDown versus Raw 2011. I've played many of these games, but in terms of PlayStation 2 games, I think this one is one of the best, and I'll rate it 8.2 out of 10. Because, why not? Pro Evolution Soccer 4. So I'll just give it a quick 6.5 out of 10, and I will move on to Pro Evolution Soccer 2009. This is a very good game, but I will rate it just 7.5 out of 10. And the next one is Pro Evolution Soccer 2012. I think it's one of the best Pro Evolution Soccer games I've ever played, because I think the newest ones, after 2015, they have gotten a bit... how can I describe this? You know, just lame, not very good. It just evolved into a different style of gameplay, which is not to my liking at least. So I'll give this one a good 8.5 out of 10. And I will move on to Pro Evolution Soccer 2012. Yes, I have this 2 times because I stole one from my cousin. Technically I just borrowed it, but he forgot to ask it back. And here we have one of the best Need for Speed games ever, which is Need for Speed Most Wanted. Basically, you have to, in the story mode at least, beat 15 bosses, and every boss is faster and requires more stuff so that you can actually challenge him to a race. 9 out of 10. And this is, yes, I also don't have the cover for this. It's Starsky and Hutch. It's a very old game. I've also played it on computer. You know, it is kind of boring, but for me, it's just a bit, I don't know, nostalgic, because I used to play it when I was very young. I'll give it a fair and square 7 out of 10. And I'll move on to the second best, or equally best as Most Wanted Need for Speed game, Need for Speed Underground 2, because 1 was not very good. This one is also a 9 out of 10, but it gets kind of boring, because you don't have those, you know, the police can't really do nothing to you. You just have races and all this kind of stuff. But we have better cars than Most Wanted. That's why I rate it equally as Need for Speed Most Wanted, because it has a better car development and stuff. Let's move on to Need for Speed Most Wanted. Oh, it seems I have 2 of them. And we're gonna move to the last one, which is MotoGP 4. You know what this is? Valentino Rossi. Very good game, very fun. It can get quite hard, and it's also with Valentino Rossi in his prime, in his peak, when he was the top racer in the world. And that is the last one of this category. And now we're gonna move to the next. Moving on to category number 4, which is probably one of my favorite categories, if not the favorite, the most favorite. RPG games, role-playing games. First one, this game, Champions of Norath, probably one of the most underrated games ever. You just pick a character from different characters and you go through the game battling different orcs and things and stuff. 9 out of 10. Moving on to another game that definitely deserves a sequel, a remake, or at least a remastered version. Shadow of Rome, which is a fictionalized game with the assassination of Julius Caesar. You can play either as Agrippa, moving on through arenas, battling and slaying other gladiators, and as Octavianus, where you basically have to go on stealth mode to discover the truth of who assassinated Julius Caesar. I'm gonna rate Shadow of Rome 9 out of 10. Amazing game. Champions of Return to Arms is the sequel to Champions of Norath. Equally good game. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for its improved gameplay, improved weapons, and also more characters than Champions of Norath, but same rating. And next one, Spartan Total Warrior. 7.5. Not very good, not very bad. Just a good game to have fun with. I have no idea what this is. Oh yeah, it's Champions of Norath again. As you can see, all the games that I like, I usually have them twice, just in case one of them, you know, the CD goes bad or is broken or something, so that I don't lose the game. And then is Aragon. Oh, actually this can be considered as a movie game as well. You know Aragon, a very good game, 7.5. Moving on to, okay, God of War, but when it was real, when it was bloody, and I mean, that's the case with all God of War games. But these games were just amazing for their time. And they still are. 9.5, a game that I spent many hours on, very good game. And then we have Prince of Persia, Sands of Time, and Prince of Persia, Warrior Within. And I'm gonna rate these 2 games 8, and of course 8.5, because I like the second one the best. I've also played the third one, but unfortunately I don't have it in my collection. Moving on to the 5th category, first and third person shooting games. Black Hawk Down, Team Sabre, good game. I'm not gonna say anything else, it's just a nice game. 7 out of 10. Ghost Hunter, another so underrated game. You play basically as Lazarus, you can just hunt every ghost and monster creature you can find. I'm gonna give it 8.5 out of 10. Very good game. Moving on with Black Hawk Down, which is basically the first one of Black Hawk Down Team Saber. This is the sequel. And this is the first game. This game deserves a legit 8 out of 10 because it is amazing. The gameplay is very good and most of the game is just very enjoyable. And here we have Rainbow Six Siege, and I bought it for 8.9 euros this time. Probably my favorite Tom Clancy's game. A solid 8.5. And here is the sequel, Rainbow Six Lockdown, which I don't like as much as Rainbow Six Siege. So I'm gonna rate this one 7 out of 10 because I don't like it that much. And now we're moving on to category number 6 with one of my favorite games in here. Basically, this whole thingy you see here, this whole series are probably one of my favorite, if not the favorite, the most favorite, let's say, because that's not grammatically correct, games ever. Starting off with Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 because this game is just pure goodness. Goodness. And also the first platformer game to have an unbroken 3D world, meaning you could move from one area to the other without loading screens. And moving on to Daxter. No, what you gonna say? This is not the PS2 game. I know, but since I have all the Jak and Daxter games, I just want to flex that I have this one as well. So I have the complete Jak and Daxter collection. And moving on to the Jak 2, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I don't care if you don't like it. It's probably one of my favorite games ever. It's just darker than the first one, but you also have weapons, you have, you know, the zoomers and all those vehicles to move around. The story is just great. The characters are so memorable. And of course, Daxter is probably the greatest game character to ever get created. Is that enough for you? Is it? Jak 2, 10 out of 10. And we have Jak 3, which I'm gonna give just 9.7 out of 10 because I didn't really like the way the story ended. I personally expected something different. I don't say that I don't like it, I just have that feeling that I needed something extra, something more. 9.7, it's in second place. What else can I say? And moving on to the next Jak installment in the series, Jak X, which is basically one of the most underrated racing games to ever get created. Basically, it's a racing game, but you can also kill your opponents so that you can go past them. Isn't that amazing? Tell me. 9 out of 10, and moving on to... yes, we also have that. It's Jak and Daxter The Lost Frontier, the only Jak and Daxter game in the series that was not produced by Naughty Dog, and instead it was produced by a company called, I think, High Impact Games. I can see it here. Still, it is a Jak and Daxter, but it's not the Jak and Daxter we were used to. And to my opinion, if you want to call yourself Jak and Daxter game, you can't beat this thing. This was kind of lame, so I'm gonna give it a 8 out of 10, just because it features those characters. But it was not worth it. It was not worth of the name. You know what I'm saying. And from the best platformer in the world, moving on to the second best platformer, at least on the PS2 consoles. And this is the series Ratchet Gladiator. I mean, Ratchet and Clank. I have the complete series for the PS2. This is Ratchet Gladiator, or in some territories it's called Ratchet Deadlock. This game is quite enjoyable. I'd say probably it's the best out of the 4 that I have. 9.2 out of 10. Very good platformer, so many weapons like all the Ratchet and Clank games. Moving on to Ratchet & Clank 3, again, very good, many weapons, kinda not easy, not hard, just average, 9 out of 10 again. And moving on to Ratchet & Clank 2. Okay, this game is just ridiculously hard for a +3 game because you go 98% through into the stage, into the level, and if you lose, you just go all the way back to the beginning. I mean, it's supposed to be for 4-year-olds and 5-year-olds, right? And another thing that I don't like about Ratchet games is that the storyline and the characters are not memorable whatsoever. I have no idea why I'm doing what I'm doing in the games. I just played because they have many weapons and fancy stuff. That's all. And last one in the platforming category is Ratchet and Clank 1. Yes, I have the complete Ratchet and Clank collection, and this game was also kinda lame. Oh, I forgot to rate number 2. Yes, 2 was probably 7.5 out of 10, and 1 is 7.5 out of 10 because kinda boring for the first installment of this game. I mean, if you compare Jack and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, and Ratchet and Clank, this is like and the first one, the Precursor Legacy, was just amazing. And they came out about the same time, so there's no excuse for one of them to be so good and the other one to be, you know, kinda lame. And moving on to the last category, and these are just games that I wasn't sure in what category I can fit them in, so I just gonna have the 7th category, just random stuff games. Devil May Cry Special Edition, you can play as Virgil as well. This is probably my favorite Devil May Cry game out of the 4 or 5, I think. I haven't played all of them, but this is one that I quite enjoyed. I don't think I've ever finished the whole game, but I'll give it a solid 8.5 out of 10 because Dante is just, I don't know, hilarious. Moving on to Final Fantasy Tales of Kerberos. Very good shooting game, 8 out of 10. And then we have Final Fantasy X. You play as Cloud, this guy here. And I will give it a 8 out of 10 because the storyline looks interesting. I don't remember exactly what happens in the game, but I remember that it was fun and, you know, intriguing to play it. And then we have probably the best PlayStation 2 game of all time. If you've seen my video of the tournament of the greatest PS2 game of all time, this was the game that came on top, and I didn't decide that. It was just random critics that did so. GTA San Andreas. What can I say about this game? I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10 because I played it so many times. There is nothing that I don't like in this game. Maybe except, you know, Big Smoke, but everything else, I really enjoyed it. Moving on to The Getaway. This is after the GTA games came out, and it's basically that GTA style of game, the copy of it. You know, after GTA games came out, every developer in the world just started creating those kind of games, the GTA style games. So it's just a cheap copy. It is a good game, so I'm just gonna rate it 7 out of 10. It was good, but not anything close to GTA. And here we have the very famous Sims. I like the Sims 2 Castaway because it's something different. You don't just play in cities and build a home and then get bored. You just have to explore and find your way through the island and you know, discover all the different things to make your life as good as possible when you live on a deserted island. So I'm gonna give it a 8.5 out of 10 because I really enjoyed playing this game. Then we have The Sims 2 Pets. Good game, but you know, once you play it a bit, it just gets kind of boring. So I'm gonna say 7.5 out of 10, and I'm gonna move on with... Oh, this is basically 10 games in one, but it's just demos, however that is called. So you basically have 10 different games that you can only play for about 5 minutes, and then you can move any further just to try out and see all those games. We have Lego Star Wars, Yakuza Formula 1 2006, B-Boy, Shinobi Forbidden Zero 2, Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater, SingStar, Black, and FIFA 2006. And that's all everyone, thank you for watching. This was my PlayStation 2 game collection video. I have 70 PlayStation 2 games and I'm very proud of it. And I'm looking to add some more in my collection. Do you have any suggestions for me? Some very good game that I miss and I have to definitely add in my collection? If you know one game like this, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and click on the bell to get notifications so that you don't miss the upcoming videos. Till the next one, have an amazing time, and I'll see you all later. For those of you that stay till the end, out of these 70 games, which one is your favorite? Let me know in the comment down below, and I will heart your comment. Bye.